Hey there, Coach Patrick here, back with another Coach Videocast podcast. In this week's episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about what it means to do and experience and benefit from a race camp. Race camps are something that Endurance Nation does every year. At the current time, given our commitments, we do one race camp a year for triathlon. In the past, we've done more than that, depending on the races that we're focused on as a team. But quite honestly, it seems like many of you would rather go to awesome places and ride your bike with us for our cycling camps. But that's not this talk. This talk is about race camp. And I was talking about race camp specifically. We have one coming up for Chattanooga. And so I've on my mind in terms of like preparation, what are the things that I want to check as sort of like lead instructor of this camp? What are the things that I want to accomplish? What am I trying to impart to my athletes? Which makes me think a lot about, for you, what you're doing leading into your race. Like if the race is big enough, that you've been planning for long enough, that you've been on your radar, you've invested money in it, you've invested training time, etc. What are all the things that you could do to benefit from experience on the course in a very focused period of time? Sure, you could spend, when you probably signed up for your race, you did some research at the time, maybe leading up to it, looked around some forums, maybe talked to a couple people in your town. At the end of the day, you were like, that's the race for me, and then you go off and you start training. And then leading into the race, the closer and closer that you get to the race, the more and more concerned you become about just how ready am I for this race. And in an ideal world, you'll have a point in time when you are fit enough from your training, but far enough from your race, that you can focus and learn and make sure that you are 100% as prepared as possible. I'm not saying you'll be bulletproof or problem-proof, but I am saying you can be awesome and you can be better if you take this focused period of time. So that's what I call a race camp. So inside Endurance Nation, we will pick an event and we will say, hey, this year it's 2019. We're going to Chattanooga as our key race. So we're going to do a Chattanooga race camp. So athletes who come to the Chattanooga race camp are actually going to spend time training on the course, going through everything from nutrition to pacing to strengths and weaknesses to strategies to technique. All that's going to come together in one place for 72 hours, 96 hours, I'm terrible at math, and gets them ready for the race. And across the course of this weekend, they're gonna learn a ton. They're gonna learn about stuff that they do well, they'll learn about stuff they are not doing well, and by the end of it, they'll be able to make the changes they need to sort of connect the dots in a way that's gonna yield their best possible race, right? We want you to be as fit as possible and as fast as possible. And the intersection of those two axes comes from experience, and being on the course is no substitute for it. But you may or may not live in an area where you're close to the course. Let's break it down, okay? So first and foremost, what are the goals of a race camp? Well, I mentioned to you before that race camps happen before the race. So a huge part of what race camp is fitness. So we're gonna get you out of your normal training life. We're gonna have you spend time riding. Inside Endurance Nation for an Ironman, that means doing a Friday full ride of the course, 100, 112 miles, whatever, and a Saturday, at least half, if not full ride of the course again, plus brick runs on both days, right? So we've gotten 2 bikes done in 2 days and 2 runs done in those same 2 days. And then the third day is long run on the course, some flavor of 13 miles or more, depending what your volume is, your speed, etc. The run's a little more fuzzy. But the point being, we have very specific fitness objectives, and we can achieve those objectives because we've pulled you out of your normal life where otherwise you ostensibly have conflicts or problems with this type of training because of the general commitments of being your awesome self, right? So that's one function that the race camp has, which is fitness. So we're combining 2 weekends worth of long rides and 2 very long rides in one block of time, really sort of putting a mega dose of aerobic fitness into your body at a time when you're pretty fatigued, but you can handle work on the bike. It's really hard to hit your intervals during the week, probably hard to hit those run numbers you want, but you can ride that bike and you can ride it for a while. And putting these 2 elements together puts a real spike in your fitness with plenty of time to recover for the big day. So from a fitness perspective, this is huge. We get 2 great bikes. The first day, you get to ride your numbers, the ones you want. I essentially call this riding with your legs. The second day you go out to ride, and it's the same ride, just like yesterday, except you feel like, well, I don't know, you rode yesterday. So what that means is you're gonna ride again, but this time we ride it with our head, because you can't just power through the hills. You can't just flatten them out. You've gotta be smart. You can't work so hard on the uphills because you're tired, but you can do more work on the downhills. Good execution in this space gives you 2 times long run with legs, long ride with legs, long ride with head. That's pretty darn close. 5-8 minutes as a delta, pretty good, assuming weather and all conditions are equal. That's ultimately what we're looking for. And then we cap all that off with this long run on Sunday. And what that does is it puts the run at the end of the week after 2 huge doses of volume. You're done with the bike. You don't want to sit on a bike seat. Heck, you might not even want to sit in your car at this point. But you're going to get out there. You're going to do this run on fatigued legs. It's not about setting land speed records. It's about reconnaissance and paying attention to the course. Right? So we're going to do that run. So we get this huge dose of fitness at a perfect time. So number one point of race camp is fitness. We're putting the finishing touches on some high quality volume before we head into your mega endurance event, in this case, an Ironman for our race camp. But I alluded a little bit more about the second point, which is super relevant, which is preparation from a mental perspective, okay? So still presuming that you cannot be at the site, while you may not be coming oriented to the nuances of the course itself or the terrain or the weather changes, you can become more in tune with your body. So you could go out and do a long ride, let's say, and you're okay, kind of achy, whatever, not 100%, but you didn't feel too bad. But you go out and do that ride again a second day, whatever was a weakness or something that you were kind of forcing to the side or trying to marginalize its effect upon you, that comes back and comes back with a vengeance in day two. There's no hiding from it. If your lower back was kind of not happy on day one, day two, it's not going to be happy. You're probably going to be in the one lap or the half crew at this point, so you can start mediating what's going on with your back. The point being that these back-to-back rides allow you to check in on yourself. How physically sound am I? Is my setup good on the bike here? Am I comfortable on the bike? Am I seeing the numbers that I want to see relative to my fitness in this training session? Is my computer even dialed in correctly? How do I feel in this race setup? I'm on my race bike now. I'm not on my regular road bike anymore. Does that feel comfortable to me? Am I enjoying it? Am I reaping the rewards of a great bike fit and seeing it show up in terms of speed? All of that happens here. So that preparation element also becomes critical in terms of being dialed into all the elements that you control with relation to your race, right? So don't miss out on this opportunity to make sure that you've got all the race stuff dialed in, that you know how to use it, that you've got all that built in, right? A corollary of that, or a complementary piece, is your nutrition. These race camps on back-to-back days are a great chance to practice nutrition. I don't mean ride hard, don't eat and drink, go get beer and ice cream. Like that's cool. I'm sure there's a ride somewhere, right? The name has to be a little catchier, I guess. But the point being, we want to practice our in-ride nutrition. Can you have ice cream later? Sure, knock yourself out. But really the focus is really good nutrition, because we're going to see from day one to day two, if you mess up your nutrition in day one, you can maybe fake the funk through the end of that ride, but you're not going to be able to fake the funk on the next day, and we'll feel it. And the fact that day two got worse than day one in terms of nutrition means that's exactly what's going to happen to you when you get to the run on race day in your Ironman, last thing that you want. This is an opportunity with this focused period of time to figure out how you're going to solve for all of these sort of baseline issues that are going to get you ready and make you sort of more prepared to handle the challenges that live with doing long course racing, okay? So let's talk a little bit about what some of the learning goals are, because I talked about the mental stuff, and there's also a mental element around the learning. So one of the reasons why we do a race camp, go to a venue, is that we want to become familiar with the venue. I want to know where the taxi stands are. I want to know where the downtown area is. I want to know where the swim start is and what the sidewalks look like and what food is near where I'm staying, how I can get around. Not knowing that information can be a real pain on race day. If you're racing in a place like the Woodlands, great place to visit, but really hard to find anything because of the zoning laws where they can't have any signs out. You could literally be 2 feet away from the Starbucks you want to be at, but you don't know it because there's no sign and it's behind all these trees and bushes, right? You just have no idea. So having local familiarity makes a difference just in general, but beyond that, also the course itself. You can look at a map and say, that's not that hilly, but it's different when you're there. And that's one of the reasons why we do a race camp. Whether you do it with an endurance station or you do it with someone else, or you go on your own and be a little adventurous. The point is we want to familiarize ourselves with the course. I tell beginner triathletes, the minute you cross that finish line, you are 20 minutes faster in Ironman, because there's like 14 things that you will never do again. You'll never make that dumb mistake, but you did today because you didn't know it was coming, you weren't ready for it, etc. Don't get mad at it. It's just part of the process. But as we become more and more experienced, we can use elements like a race camp, if you are that invested in your training, to make sure that you've got all the preparation pieces in place. You know there's a blind turn around this corner. You know there's a huge pothole. You understand that the winds change later in the day. You've felt the heat on your back or on your face. You know where the train tracks are. All these things start to make your life a lot easier as you're moving through a space that you're comfortable in versus a space where you are lost and you don't know what to do. And it's very important that you are comfortable in the space you want to be in, which is a great reason to do a race camp, okay? I mentioned a little bit about the different learning goals, like the course, the nutrition, the fitness. You may have your own learning goals about the day, but it's important to discern, if you are traveling to the venue, what's important to know so you can have a better race, and what's just something that people want to know. Someone may ask you, what's the per capita corn consumption in Madison? I have no idea. No idea about it. Doesn't matter anything to me. I don't care. Get out of here. You're out of here. But if someone says, hey, at camp they show up and they've got a bike with 25 millimeter tires on, you've got 23s. And you're like, can you really run 25s with that frame? Because I've got the same frame, but I'm not sure. You can pick up some of the stuff by being observant and engaged and making sure that you're exploring all opportunities for growth and development, and not just hard work, not just building more fitness, which is a slippery slope to go into, right? What happens if you can't travel? We're assuming that you can get there, you can see the course. Well, what can you do if you can't travel? You're going to do this race. It's in Northern California. You live in beautiful yet extremely tiny Rhode Island. How do you get ready for this? Well, good news is there's lots of information out there and data. You can look it up. You can look it up on Strava to see someone's files and see their data if you're a premium user. You can go to Ride with GPS and see if someone's loaded the route and also see information there. You can go to YouTube and look up course videos. In many cases, people have found a space to videotape, whether it's in a car or just standing on the side of the road, parts of the course so you have a better sense of how the course will unfold. That makes a big difference, especially in those critical sections, right? You can talk to other athletes who've done the race. It's a great thing to walk around and ask people before the race, when you're waiting in line to register, when you're waiting in line at the store, when you're waiting in line at the swim store. Hey, have you done this swim before? I just did this in Cozumel. Have you done this swim before? Yes, I have. It seems like the wind's kind of at our back, and it's like, how difficult is it? And the gentleman said, it's not that bad with the wind at your back. It's just that the wind is pushing the water at you, not directly from the side and not directly from behind, but kind of that cross tail area, which throws people off because it kind of pushes your hips around. That was an awesome, invaluable piece of information that made my swim materially better that I wouldn't have gotten if I hadn't asked and just poked around a little bit and learned a bit more, right? So that's very important that we keep that open mindset. We make sure that we're engaged and we're doing everything we can to be successful, whether you can get to a venue and see how it all lays out, or if you have to do it third person and look on YouTube and read race reports. One of the benefits of being inside Endurance Nation, we have thousands of race reports from people who've gone to places and stayed, who've raced, they know everything, and you can benefit from that by experiencing their knowledge, their information, even hearing their podcasts, seeing my coach videos, all of that to make you more ready. The reason why we do all of that is because smarter athletes are faster athletes, plain and simple. Everyone who's doing an Ironman is ready to suffer. They're ready to do work, but few have the manual to be able to put a great race together. Not only do we have that inside Endurance Nation, but we work together with each other to refine it on an annual basis to make sure that the latest version of this resource is the best resource, just like this podcast. I hope you enjoyed this podcast about race camps. And the next time you're doing a big event, I encourage you to get out there if you can, financially and time-wise, to explore the venue and be comfortable with it before the circus comes to town, before all the energy gets there, all the adrenaline, and you're not really able to process the things you need to be able to get in the mindset where you can be successful. Race camps happen anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks out from your long endurance race is the best window to gain an aerobic benefit built on top of an existing amount of quality training and still be able to sharpen and then taper for the race. If you have questions about race camps, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Endurance Nation. You can also go over to endurancenation.us and click on our camps button and see not only what race camps we have coming up, but also the cycling camps we're involved in as well. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. If we're not camping together next year, then I'll see you online or at the races.